Hello, church family and friends. It's 2-Minute Tuesday. As I've mentioned in previous videos, this fall my congregation is studying faith practices in our Sunday morning sermons. Faith practices, that is, behaviors that form us as believers. And another thing that I've talked about in previous weeks' videos is the fact that many Christian practices are prescriptive, that is, they're behavioral strategies that we adopt in the pursuit of a goal, like we want to grow closer to Jesus, we want to become more like Jesus, and there are practices that help us move toward those goals. But there are also Christian practices that are descriptive. They are behavioral expressions of hearts transformed by the Holy Spirit. The book of Acts describes the first Christian communities. In Acts 2, verses 42 through 47, we find a list of the spontaneous habits the first Christians adopted in response to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit produced these spontaneous habits. One of these habits is prayer. Acts is full of descriptions of early Christian communities getting together and engaging in corporate prayer. They prayed when they were gathering for fellowship or worship. They prayed when they faced a new ministry opportunity. They prayed when they were confronted with a shared decision. They prayed when they were encountering adversity. Whenever Christians got together, they prayed together. Now, we mistakenly assume that the purpose of prayer is getting God to act. Often we only get serious about prayer when we need something. That's when we get down on our knees and we ask God for it. Sometimes we even talk ourselves out of prayer, like we say, well, God already knows what he wants to do, so why bother asking for it? Or we even make excuses not to pray. We say prayer is a waste of time when there are so many important things we should be doing instead. What would happen if we stopped thinking of prayer as a way of getting God to do what we want and instead thought of prayer as joining God in what he's already doing while being joined to each other by the Holy Spirit? If we changed our thinking, those passages from Acts would start to look different to us. In Acts, what we see is communities of people who want nothing more than to commune with Christ and to connect with fellow members of his body. And we see them experiencing that communion and that connection in corporate prayer. If we changed our thinking about prayer, we might also become more interested in exploring the potential that corporate prayer has, potential for encouraging, equipping, and empowering the church today. For those of us who don't pray regularly with fellow Christians, we have to ask, if the first most spirit-filled Christians prayed together all the time, why don't we? And what might happen if we did? The transformative power of the Holy Spirit is as available to us as it was to the church in Acts. We have to ask what's holding us back from praying as persistently and passionately as they did. We also have to imagine what the Lord might be waiting to do in us and through us if we would only join our spirits with his and join our voices in prayer.